iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.
I've directed a whole bunch of stuff, from dramas to comedies to musicals. You're lucky if you read a play and you go, I think I could do something with this. I think I can massage it or nurture it or something and make it leap off a page. Didn't have to do much with The Cottage. It was unbelievably funny and so well plotted, and the characters were so well delineated on the page that you just go, I'd love to play. I'd love to be in that playground. And I met Sandy Rustin, the author, and we hit it off, and we went, you want to play with this together? And it's been 5 years of sitting around with each other and, waiting for the right opportunity, and then getting it with these people it's extraordinary. It's just extraordinary.
I play a Beau Van Kipnis, who is a barrister in 1923. Very stiff upper lip, very much used to getting whatever he wants because he's a man in the Queen's England in 1923. Very Victorian and very much about to have a comeuppance that he doesn't see coming.
So I play Sylvia, and Sylvia starts out the show sort of in love and thinks she's on the brink of life's beginning, and then she gets some news, and then she becomes a bit unhinged, and then a couple of drinks later and a few cigarettes, she begins to transform, and so we see her really go through this transformation.
I play a guy by the name of Clark with an E, the way the Brits do. He's sort of a high society British bon vivant, I've been told to say.
So I played Deirdre. She's sort of the young, hopeless, romantic. She's very optimistic, but perhaps leads a little bit too much with her heart and not so much her head.
I'm playing Marjorie. She's the Baroness of the Cottage. She's pragmatic and has recently discovered romance and has a few secrets up her sleeves.
I play a character named Richard, but Richard is a little bit of a surprise, so you'll have to come see the show to find out what's going on with Richard. He's a man of mystery.
You know, I had this idea for a long time. When I was in college, I played Sorrel Bliss in Noel Coward's Hay Fever, and I loved it. I loved that experience so much. So when I set out to write a new play at the time when I was, ready to write this show, I really wanted to do something in that world, but I wanted to do it through a feminist lens. And so I really set out to explore the idea of an old school genre with a new mentality. And that sort of was my plan, and it's evolved over the decade that I've been working on it, but here we are.
Yeah, I would say The Cottage is sort of inspired by Noel Coward, but with a feminist twist. I would say it's extremely funny, but it also has a very real play at the center of it, exploring marriage and fidelity and the constructs of marriage, I would say. And you're going to have a great time, but I think it'll also make you think, which is exciting.
The storyline is great. The jokes are hilarious. I mean, I was already laughing on page one, and you kind of know if you're already laughing on page one and it didn't take 10 pages to make you laugh, it's probably pretty good.
About love and relationships, fidelity. There's a lot of, feminist ideas in it, which you might not expect, so it's not necessarily there to beat you over the head with it, but it's a really fun comedy that actually might surprise you.
It's funny on the page, which, I know that sounds weird, but a lot of things you read and you go, oh, I can make this funny. You don't have to make this funny. You could take 6 people off the street and probably do a funny version of this play. The amazing thing about the audiences who get to see this play is that there are 5 really good comedic actors who are doing it on Broadway. And it's going to be a great celebration. It's also a show with a great sort of heartfelt message, a great feminist message, but it doesn't try to push sort of any agenda. It just sort of shows women of a different period who don't always get the spotlight in these kind of plays, which I think is really kind of amazing. There were powerful women in 1923. They just usually don't get displayed in these plays because the plays were written by men. And one of the amazing things about this play is that it was written by Sandy Rustin, who's an amazing new playwright and is a voice that I think people will be hearing from a lot soon.
It is an English farce set in the countryside about a family and their torrid affairs.
Jason knows comedy. You might not, you might be surprised to hear that. And we have a very similar style. Coming from sitcom, where you're putting up a new script every week for an audience. Both shows had a live audience, so it was very theatrical in its way. The ideas come thick and fast, and they get thrown out thick and fast. Something doesn't work, you move on. He's come in with so many ideas for comedy, for surprises, that it's always alive. It's a very living, breathing thing.
Well, Jason's amazing. He's an actor's director because he's an actor, right? So he's a great listener. He really understands when you have a challenge. He helps you find it. He doesn't micromanage. He'll offer suggestions. I mean, his direction is more like a suggestion. And that's wonderful because that feels very freeing and very open, and I feel like there's worlds of possibility and discovery. And I love when a director says, you'll discover this when you have an audience. So he's not going to micromanage us, be out in the audience when we get our first audience and go like, you didn't do what I thought. He wants us to discover it, which just leaves so much openness and freedom to find things every night. So the show can be different every night.
It's overwhelming and incredible. He's so kind, so collaborative, and you're working with a master of comedy, so anything he tells you, you immediately trust that it's going to be gold. Any nugget of information he gives you to try, you're like, that's a genius idea. Like, it's incredible, and of course it is because you were on Seinfeld, so it's been a really incredible experience. But all of that aside, in his amazing career and star power, he's also just really present and kind and there for all of us, so it's been really nice.
Terrible. We hate him. He's rude. He's mean. Untalented. He's an untalented hack, basically. No, he's wonderful. He's so funny. I mean, I think the dream for actors is to have a real actor's director, and that's exactly who Jason is. He gets up on his feet. He acts with us. He is in the space. It feels so hands-on, and I love it.
He's actually the loveliest person, though. Here's a secret. Jason is truly the most encouraging, lovely person. There's no artifice. There's no, like, I was on one of the most famous, iconic TV shows of all time. He doesn't carry that around with him at all. He's just a guy directing a play who just happens to be Jason Alexander and has this great wealth of comedy. I mean, and so it's a gift, honestly, to spend time with him because he's so technically good at being an actor and also being a director that you wouldn't think about when you think of George Costanza. You know what I mean? But he's a really good artist, who just happens to be a guy who was also on Seinfeld.
There were so many things the actors had to do. First of all, the roles are so specific. You need actors that just walking in go, yeah, that's what that character should look like or feel like. They have to be good actors. They have to be funny actors. They have to be funny physical actors. They have to be funny wit actors. They have to play British. They have to play very high style, and they have to be able to function as an ensemble. We had lists and lists and lists of maybe, and until each of them walked in the room and we went, it was like a lightning bolt would touch the ground and we'd go, that's it. That's it. And we knew instantly with every one of them. And we can't believe we got every one of them.
Well, what's great about this is that, particularly with the women, they're all like incredible musical theater stars that have all had shows that I adore. Alex Moffat from SNL I adore. I'm just getting to Nona Hall, who is brilliant, and so experienced on Broadway. So there's a feeling of sort of hitting the ground running. There's not a slow process. This play has been workshopped out of town by other casts. It's ready to go. We're ready to dive in. It feels like we're fast on our feet.
I'm a fan, longtime fan since I was a zygote, and now to get to work with him is pretty friggin' cool. I've been pretty blown away by everybody at different moments. It's just like a murderer's row of really solid actors, really funny people, and people who I've enjoyed getting to know.
It's a total joy. My favorite part of making theater is collaborating and working with other people, and to be in a room with these particular geniuses is like beyond my wildest. So it's wonderful.
It's like working with kind of a comedic team of experts, so it's fun to watch each other. We never know what anyone's going to do as we're playing around, especially right now. So it's fun to see what everybody's coming up with, everyone's questions about like, oh, I have a better idea. And we're kind of like serving that to each other, which is really fun, and giving suggestions of what we can make work and what would be better. So it's really been incredible, and I've looked up to so many of the people I'm working with for so long and so many years. They've been like in my orbit, so it's pretty exciting for me personally.
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.